Have you ever felt a shiver down your spine when you were home alone? A sense that unseen eyes were watching you from the shadows? The darkness seems to amplify every creak of the floorboard. Imagine a place like the House of the Witches, an old, rambling Victorian mansion perched on a windswept hill. The locals whisper tales of strange occurrences within its walls, of flickering lights and disembodied voices. This essay delves into the unsettling world of being home alone, exploring the eerie experiences that can haunt our minds. Join me as we journey into the heart of darkness, where fear reigns supreme and the line between reality and imagination blurs. There's an undeniable eeriness that pervades an empty house. It's in the silence that feels too heavy, broken only by the ticking of a clock or the groan of settling pipes. Imagine yourself in the House of the Witches. Dust motes dance in the faint rays of sunlight filtering through grimy windows. The air is thick with the scent of decay and the weight of forgotten memories. As you walk through the echoing halls, you can almost hear the whispers of the past. The creaking stairs you've climbed 1,000 times suddenly sound ominous. These are the subtle cues that set our nerves on edge, the unsettling reminders that we are not truly alone. Being alone, especially in the dark, strips away our layers of protection, leaving us exposed and vulnerable. We're free from the judgment and expectations of others, but also vulnerable to the whims of our own imaginations. The rational mind knows that the shadows hold no real threat, that the creaking floorboards are simply a product of age and settling wood. But the primal part of our brain, the part that kept our ancestors alive in a world full of predators, remains unconvinced. Every unfamiliar sound sends a jolt of adrenaline through our system, our senses on high alert. We become hypervigilant, scanning our surroundings for any sign of danger, real or imagined. The line between reality and imagination blurs, leaving us questioning our own sanity. Let's delve into the unsettling world of home alone experiences, starting with a story told by a young woman named Sarah. Sarah was home alone one evening, her boyfriend away on a business trip. As the night wore on, she began to hear strange noises coming from the attic. At first, she dismissed it as her imagination, but the sounds persisted, scratching, tapping, and what sounded like muffled footsteps. Later that night, as she was getting ready for bed, she glanced at the hallway mirror and froze. For a split second, she could have sworn she saw a dark figure standing behind her. She spun around, heart racing, but the hallway was empty. The next day, she found a small antique doll lying on the floor in the hallway. It wasn't hers. Section 5. The Unseen Guest, a Chilling Encounter. The following story comes from a man named John who lived alone in a small cottage on the outskirts of town. One stormy night, as John was reading by the fire, he heard a knock at the door. He wasn't expecting anyone, and the storm was raging outside. He cautiously approached the door and peered through the peephole, but he couldn't see anyone there. He called out, "Hello?" But there was no answer, only the howling wind and the pounding rain. He slowly opened the door a crack, just enough to see if anyone was there. The porch was empty. Just as he was about to turn back inside, he felt a cold breath on the back of his neck. He whirled around, but again there was no one there. John quickly retreated inside and locked the door behind him, certain that someone or something had been watching him. Section 6. The Man in the Mirror, Reflections of Fear. Our next story is about a college student named Emily, who was house-sitting for her aunt and uncle while they were away on vacation. The house was large and old, with a sprawling garden that backed onto a dense forest. One night, as Emily was getting ready for bed, she glanced at herself in the antique vanity mirror in her bedroom. As she was putting on her nightgown, she noticed something strange in the reflection. There was a man standing behind her, his face obscured by shadows. Emily froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She slowly turned around, but there was no one there. She tried to dismiss it as her imagination, but the image of the man in the mirror continued to haunt her. From that night on, Emily avoided looking in the mirror, feeling its presence in the room, watching her. Section 7. The phone call. A voice from beyond. Imagine yourself alone in your house late at night. The only sounds are the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Suddenly the phone rings, shattering the silence. You answer the phone, but there's no one on the other end. Just silence, a heavy, pregnant silence that seems to amplify the emptiness of the house. You hang up, but the phone rings again, the shrill ringing sending shivers down your spine. You answer again, and this time you hear a voice, a raspy whisper that sends chills down your spine. "I'm watching you," the voice whispers. You slam down the phone, your heart racing, unable to shake the feeling that whoever it was, they know where you are. Section 8. The final straw. Terror at the House of the Witches. Our final story takes us back to the House of the Witches, where a group of teenagers decided to spend the night, eager to test their courage and perhaps catch a glimpse of the supernatural. They had heard all the local legends, the tales of hauntings and strange occurrences, but they dismissed them as mere superstition. The night started innocently enough, with laughter and scary stories told in the flickering light of a lantern. But as the night wore on, the atmosphere grew heavy, the air thick with a palpable sense of dread. Strange noises began to echo through the house, disembodied whispers, footsteps on the stairs, and the sound of something heavy being dragged across the attic floor. One by one, the teenagers started to freak out. They wanted to leave, but the old house seemed to hold them captive, its doors and windows mysteriously bolted shut. Panic set in, their youthful bravado replaced by primal fear. Then the lights went out, plunging the house into darkness. Screams pierced the night as the teenagers stumbled blindly through the house, desperate to escape the unseen terror that lurked within its walls. Section 9. Facing Our Fears. Lessons in the Darkness. These stories, though unsettling, serve as reminders of the power of our own minds, particularly when we are alone and vulnerable. The fear we experience when we are home alone is often a product of our own imaginations, fueled by suggestion and the primal instinct to protect ourselves from the unknown. But these experiences also highlight the importance of facing our fears. By confronting the things that scare us, we can begin to overcome our fears and reclaim our sense of peace and security. It is in the shadows that we discover our own strength, our own resilience. To Section 10, join the conversation. Share your story. The world is full of unexplained phenomena, of eerie experiences that defy rational explanation. Perhaps you've had your own encounter with the unknown, a moment that left you questioning your sanity or the nature of reality itself. We invite you to share your stories in the comments below. Have you ever felt an unsettling presence while home alone? Your experiences could shed light on the mysteries of the human mind and the world around us. Remember, the truth is out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be discovered.